There were moments when I was younger, when it scared me to be here in Karachi. I used to shiver in the dead of summer nights, begging myself to sleep and praying that I might push past the fear of the violence and the specters of the dead that surrounded me and my city. But one night, I heard the myna birds outside my window, crowing at 5 in the morning. After that, I would wait to hear them, these dark, rough birds, and I would fall asleep as the birds reassured me with their raven song that we had defeated the night once more. Songs of Blood and Sword is the story of this family, this extraordinary family that has suffered and has played a part in the violence that makes Pakistan the state it is today. So much is written about the Bhuttos that at this point it seems quite difficult to separate the myths from the actual history of the family. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was killed in 1979 and there's never been justice in his case. There's never been an inquiry into the trial that sentenced him to death. Shahnawaz Bhutto was killed in 1985. There's never been anyone called to account for the death of this 27-year-old man. My father, Murtaza, was killed in 1996, and in 2009 the courts of Pakistan told us that nobody killed him. And then in 2007 Benazir was killed at a public rally in Rawalpindi, and there has not even been a police report filed. Songs of Blood and Sword was a journey for me through my father's life and his murder. My father, Murtaza, was an elected official, an elected member of parliament at the time, and was very critical of both my aunt, Benazir Bhutto, and Asif Zardari, her husband's corruption.
So this is Clifton Road, where my father and 6 of his associates were killed on the night of the 20th of September. And as you can see, we're just feet away from the main door of the house. My brother, who was 6 at the time, Zulfi, my mother, Ghanwa, and I were all at home waiting for my father that night. And his car would have come down this very road right in front of us. Just seconds, really, till he would have reached our front door. But this entire road, till the end of the road, was cut off. My father's convoy of 4 cars was stopped right along here on this road, directly opposite the police house and in front of the Clifton Gardens. The police were everywhere. They were in the side streets, along the road, in the trees. And a police officer was charged with identifying that Murtaza Bhutto was in fact in the vehicle. When my father rolled down the window and it was obvious that he was seated in the front of the car, a one-shot signal was given and a police officer called out to fire.
As soon as the firing started, Rahim, the youngest of the guards, jumped from the red pickup and ran to replace Sajjad by covering Murtaza with his body. He too was felled with a single sniper shot to the head, dying instantly. My father had been shot several times. His face had been hit, his beautiful, smiling face. And he had superficial wounds on his chest and arms. None of the shots in the hail of gunfire hit him seriously, though. He was still alive.
About half an hour, 45 minutes after the shooting, was still conscious. He was still able to walk. He was still speaking. And he was moved into a police van. And witnesses and survivors say that he walked to the police van and sat inside it. The police drove on the opposite side of Clifton Road up until the monument of the 2 swords, the Talwar. And there a one-shot sound was heard. And that's where the police fired the fatal shot into my father's jaw, which is the shot that killed him.
There is, I think, There is a moral responsibility for my father's murder, and then there is a political responsibility. And Benazir Bhutto's government bears both. It's become harder and harder for Benazir and Asif Zardari to proclaim their innocence. Masood Sharif, who at that time was the head of the intelligence bureau that reported directly to the Prime Minister, and who was on the road in Clifton that night, was inducted into Benazir's central committee of the People's Party that she ran. Asif Zardari, once in office as president in 2009, awarded a national medal, a Hilal-e Imtiyaz, to Shoaib Sadal because of his services to the Pakistani people. Life is cheap and violence is very easy, and Songs of Blood and Sword was perhaps the only way that I could seek some justice for my family, for this family that has lost its sons and its daughters and its children, to a violence that is unrepentant and a violence that will never be brought to justice by the state that employs it. Amidst all this madness, all these ghosts and memories of times past, it feels like the world around me is crumbling, slowly flaking away. Sometimes, when it's late at night, I feel my chest swell with a familiar anxiety. I think, at these times, that I have no more place in my heart for Pakistan. I cannot love it anymore. I have to get away from it for anything to make sense. Nothing here ever does. But then the hours pass, and as I ready myself for sleep, as the light filters in through my windows, I hear the sound of those mynah birds, and I know I could never leave.